So in this lesson on the sociology of education, we're looking at state schools, competition and choice. It's the companion piece to the previous video on the private education system. This is the state school system. Schools paid for through taxation by the government. Recall how it works. That's how Marxists see things. Grammar, comprehensive, free market, Ofsted, league tables, open evening, funding formula, navigation, social capital. Okay, let's go. These are the questions on the previous lesson on the private, independent and public school system. If you don't know the answers, look at the previous video. So, the state school system before 1970. Before 1970, was a system of two separate schools. There were grammar schools and there were secondary modern schools. And which school you went to, depending on how you did at an exam you took at the end of primary school, called the 11 plus, you're 11 years of age. You took that exam. If you did well, about 20% of kids went to a grammar school. Mostly the rest of the kids went to a secondary modern school. You went to this school, you did English, science, physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics, history, geography, Latin. Nothing, you did nothing vocational. No woodwork, no DT, no textiles. Most kids went to secondary modern school. They do a bit of English, bit of maths, bit of this, bit of that, but lots of vocational stuff. So the boys did lots of woodwork and metalwork and digging holes, and the girls learned to sew and cook and all that business. In the 1970s, this was replaced. These two schools were sort of merged to form the comprehensive system. Comprehensive means it covers everything. So one school, you went to the school closest to your area, and you did a bit of everything there, and you took your options at the end of year 9. So it's sort of similar to the system we have today. These schools run a bit of both. They do academic subjects and they do vocational subjects. Then, in the 1980s and early 90s, the government brought in what they would call market principles to schools. They made schools compete with each other. They gave parents more choice as to where they could send their kids. And in order to help them make their choices, schools had to publish lots more data, their exam results. They had Ofsted to come in to test people, to test schools, and to make the results of that testing very, very public. The idea was the good schools would have more kids apply and would grow, and the poor schools would shrink, and they'd either improve because they had to, or they'd close because they had to. The idea was market principles. And then in the last few years, we've had the academy and the free school system, whereby first off, academies started off as just a few of them. They were the schools that were doing really badly, would close, get a load more money, get outside sponsors in, reopen, and improve. And then that was expanded, so lots of schools were expected to become academies. And then councils were prevented from opening new schools. Any new school that was open was needed. It was opened by an organisation or by parents. That was called a free school. So academies and free schools are the same thing, really. A free school is just a new academy. Most academies already existed and were taken over and became academies. A free school is a brand new school, but they're the same thing. The idea is they have some freedom from the government. They're not controlled by the local authority. They can set their own rates of pay. They can teach what they want. They don't, in effect. They stick to the exam boards, but that's the idea. And then, in the last few years, these academies and free schools have sort of started getting together into multi-academy trusts, the Glyn Learning Federation or Foundation, the Harris Federation. They get together into large groups of schools because they realise it's not really sensible to run a school just by itself. Yeah. Sociologists studying this are not really very impressed. So you have these schools, academies, free schools, and if they're doing well, all that happens is that middle-class parents move there. They understand the system. They can afford to buy a house near the good school. house prices go up near the good school, more middle class kids go there, the results stay good, you haven't got to work very hard, it's just not very fair. And also the whole system is difficult for the working class parents to navigate. So here's a bunch of schools in an area, and here's the sort of data they produce. It's baffling. I don't know what this stuff means. So how is a ordinary parent, particularly one that's not very well educated themselves, meant to navigate this system? So to a Marxist, again, you've got a system of class reproduction. You've got a system that favours the middle class because they have the skills to navigate this. They've got the money to buy the house near the good school. So it's not a system that really solves the problem.